What's up, everyone? CR2 here. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever and whenever you're watching. Um, as you can tell from the background, we've got a 87's guide for Legacy Michigan, or is it Michigan 2008 or 9? But regardless of that, this is a guide reshoot. Um, I just spent nearly an hour recording, and I didn't really feel like it had the answers or the quality that I want you guys to have in these guides because after a 35 lap run in that guide, it just turned mighty loose, even with some right rear saving in mind. This is a mighty loose set. I might be exaggerating on that point, but almost regardless of track temp, as you can see, it's 69 degrees right now on track, and I think it is still gonna be loose. I fired up 2 test sessions, three rather. The first one started off at 75. It made its way up to 78 after I did a 15 lap refresher practice. Second test session started at 71 um, with some cloud cover coming and going, sun peeking through. That started at 71. Track temp made its way all the way up to 77. Um, the one the third test session where I was recording the guide, I think it started at 74. It made its way up to 78 or 9, if I can remember correctly. But I think just regardless of track temp, this is still going to be a loose setup. Cold track temp is really only going to affect your times. So just with that in mind, I'm redoing the guide right now as just towards the end of when I was originally recording, I did a 10 lap, um, another 10 lap practice run just to really try to find, okay, what's the answer to get yourself some even right side tire wear. And after that, the right side tires were still 95, 92, which doesn't sound like a large split, but think about that over, instead of 10 laps, it's over 40 laps if you're in a green flag run that long. So it's not just, oh, it's a 3% split over 40 laps. It's going to be more like a 10% split at least, if even more than that, across 40 laps. Let's say if I continued running that out to lap 40, that may have turned out to be 75, 65, if even more like 75, 60. Uh, just rear rear tire saving is gonna be is is definitely going to be the premium for this coming week. But of course, don't let that deter you guys. We're going to try to find the answer. Um, this is the coldest I've seen it, 69 degrees of track temp. Um, let's go on over. So 12 to 1, brake bias. I'm leaving it pretty well at default, maybe even a click up, 2 clicks, because fuel load really affects how your car feels. To start, it's going to be loose because you're starting with a full fuel tank. You're trying to burn that down, and while also saving your right rear. If you want your wheel dead center on the straights, a little bit left on the front straight, of course, -6 is pretty well going to be what you want. -4, -6. But of course, that's all driver preference. So that's it there. Okay, still 69 degrees of track temp. Let's get on going. So, as usual, try to keep your car under 100 miles an hour until you're straightening out for your pit exit. Pull up my best lap that I've managed. That was a 41.37. A little bit too fast there. Make sure I also get the reset point set. Now for entering turn 3 on your out lap, I recommend a little bit of a lift just to help the turn in and needlessly sacrifice some front tire life before your Q lap has even started. It's okay if you turn on down, stick up to the wall, wait as long as possible, maybe get a little bit of rundown, 185 at the line. Wait till your car turns on down and bites, and that's pretty well when you can get hard on throttle. It might just be a little loose on exit, so preemptively lift just to prepare for it. You see how close we got to that wall? And that's also the balance you've got to battle. 3 and 4, lift at that gray patch on the wall out to your right. Match the turn of the seams. Not so much loose. I think I just, for whatever reason, instinctively counter-steered. And you can see pretty well matched the best time. 41.375. Now, I was able to set that 41.374 and I think a track temp of 74 degrees. I'll actually hop on out of the car just to take this a little bit more in depth. So, on your out lap, because you can't really full throttle this, it's just not really enough banking, whereas, say, back in week 1 with Las Vegas, that banking was steep enough. You could just keep it buried full throttle all the way down to turn 1 on your actual Q lap. This here, not so much grip, so I recommend just a little bit of a lift. Wait up until you're turning on down pretty well to get back on throttle. Maybe somewhere when you see this Michigan USA sign kind of right in front of you almost. And cars should be able to handle it. Just full throttle. It's okay if you get away from the wall a little bit. I think that's better anyway. It's a bit of a straighter exit. Clock 185 at the line. You could probably even manage 186. Of course, the faster you are here, that's just more time for you. That's just less time off of your Q lap. Brake, lift and brake either at or slightly right after this track condition light. I feel like, because I've tried pushing it to where this safer barrier starts, and I feel like it's just over driving to where you have to slow down more than you really need to waiting this long versus just lift and brake at this track light. Go for a high entry, wait until you feel the car turning on down, and pretty well you can get right back on full throttle almost. You might get loose somewhere around here. You can see I kind of preemptively lifted, and you see just how close we got to that wall. Look at that. You can't really get any closer than that. Yeah, look at that. You can't really get any closer than that. So just be aware of that point. For 3 and 4, I feel like what looks like a crossover gate is a good point to lift and brake for going into turn 3, maybe just a little bit before. You can see I'm kind of going at like the second to last 3M sign right here. As turn 3 is for old Michigan and probably even current day Michigan is a little bit troublesome for me. I'm just very prone to overdriving it. Wait up until you really feel the turn in your car matching the arc with the seams. I think high middle is better. As just wall riding, I feel like there's not a lot of grip for at full race speed. You can see I kind of uselessly counter-steered. I just, for whatever reason, felt like the car was getting loose on me. And then just make your run to the line as short as possible. You can see that's good for 41.375. Depending on track temperature, you might see a low 41.3. You see 71 degrees track temp, and that's just 1 degree warmer in the air temp. So at its coldest, you might see 69 degrees track temp at its warmest, because I've seen it get up to 77, 78. So just be sure to watch that when your race sessions start. Qualifying, I think for qualifying this coming week, just get on out there as soon as you can, because if you wait, the track's only going to get warmer. So just get on out there right away. I don't see it getting any cooler. You can see it's mostly cloudy. I'm very sure we haven't seen any sun on track, and it's still getting warmer. So let's get back on out there for what's going to be our practice run. Kind of wish we could reset this lap count. So lap 3 will be our first lap. Now, what I really want to try to find for you guys, how do you keep your right side tire wear even after a full fuel run, 30 laps or so? But because there's also the possibility of wrecks. This is a pretty loose set, and I think this is the loosest Old Michigan has ever felt. So, but then also you kind of got that balance of where you want to be in the field. And the way that I like to handle Michigan and Auto Club, because those tracks in 87s, and especially more so when track temps are cold, you do kind of get these little packs of five to 8 cars, as many as 10, and hold on, I'll continue that thought. And then you may see another pack a few seconds behind of another 5 to 10 cars. What I like to do is to hang out at the back of the lead pack and just have the line I want. I'm not pressured immediately. I'm not in the dogfight where I'm being forced to run harder than I want to, and just kind of unnecessarily sacrificing tire life. So we're gonna continue where I was ending the first recording that I had decided to scrap. We're gonna do 10 laps here because we want to find out what do we need to do for even tire wear, or as close as possible, because I think after a 30 plus lap run, if even your race goes full green, or green up to the point that green flag stops are happening, so let's say as early as lap 35 to as late as lap 45, or if even you want to try to stretch your fuel to lap 49 or 50, if you can have your right side tire wear split within 5%, you're gonna have right rear tire life at a premium where much of the field doesn't. And I don't think any amount of driving the car in harder to try to keep some load on the right front is gonna help, because fuel transferring weight, it's already a naturally loose car, that trying to run the right front harder with much more turn in the car, it's just not going to help. And at some point you're going to get that snap loose. So we're going to do a quick 10 lap run here with heavy right rear tire saving in mind, and just to find out what you've got to do. So you can see I'm backing up my entries a lot, really being patient on getting back to full throttle, trying to be as smooth as possible, and not at all whatsoever letting the rear tires kick out. Typically you would lift and brake at that traffic light, but you can see I'm lifting and braking. Really should only be lifting, no brake. I'm lifting probably 5 to 10 car lengths earlier. And just let the car naturally roll through the center. Wait up until you see that traffic light in your windshield view. I feel like that's a good marker to start increasing throttle. And we're at 43 laps remaining. Granted, you can run this car much faster right now. In fact, if you want to remain with the lead pack, that's probably what you're going to have to do anyway. So that's where trying to heavily save your rear tires possibly won't even be beneficial. You may just have to fight through the looseness. Just doesn't feel like there's any grip up there like you would see with Auto Club. Back on throttle a little bit just to maintain your speed. Increase a little bit and wait until you're nearly straight on the wheel to be back to full throttle, but you see how much time that sacrifices. Brake. I really feel like what's going to be best for turn 1 and 2 is a high entry, low cut down for a little bit of a straighter exit. And I really think for exiting turn 4, what's going to help is try to keep your exit a little bit on the shallower side, whereas to when you're on throttle, you don't feel like you're forcing the car to make that exit. Again, kept that exit low. Really underdriving this right now. Could very likely still be running 43 zeros. Car felt fine there. Gonna have one more lap to do after this. We're just gonna pull off right away as we want the tire data from as close as possible to race speed. Low line feels perfectly fine when you're driving with heavy tire saving in mind. 43.4, one more lap. Lift early, coast a little bit, modulate your throttle, let the car turn on down. You can feel a little bit loose there. This was with 10 laps, track temp. Wow, look at that. See, so track temp went up 7 degrees in just the 20 minutes we've had this session fired up. And this is 96.94. And this is with heavy right rear tire saving in mind. And you can see just how loose this set naturally is. Regardless of track temp. If it had stayed the same, maybe gone up to 70, we'd just simply be a couple tenths faster on average, likely. So I don't want to say throw rear tire saving out the window. There's still some premium to that. If you're able to save your right rear in the lead pack throughout the race, everybody burns it up. They have no drive off the corners. You can just simply scoot right on past them. So, but I think to really keep tire saving in mind, you're just going to give up a lot of time. Draft is beneficial here. It helps with fuel saving. So we are going to go back on out. Let me check how long this video length is really quickly. And we're at 20 minutes already, so okay. We're going to go back on out. And because I think race pace is going to be much faster. Top on out really quickly just to review laps again. So that was just after 11 laps rather. Lap 12 was the 10th lap. Okay. 42.4, fell off a second, but I really feel like we could have ran that faster. So we're going to go back on out, run 30 laps, and just, I'm going to run it as fast as I can without feeling like, without overdriving. Faster, but still with tire saving in mind. This is what I think race pace is going to be. Because to put tire saving as your primary objective in forefront of your approach to the race, I just think you're going to give up far too much time. So let me show you guys what I think race pace will be, and then just come 30 laps afterward, we're going to see how we're doing. First lap is lap 15. Okay. Brake bias, I'm going to put up 2 clicks to 56.4. And you can see just how much faster. This is compared to the last lap, so this is useless, but let's remember, first lap of the tire saving practice run was a 42.4, and let's see how much faster we are coming to the line right now. Okay, well, not as if we're any faster. Just gonna let the car turn itself, don't force it. Wait until you feel the car turning down. I typically like to stay out next to the wall, but in a draft situation, you're just gonna simply want to follow the line. That's all. Follow the line of cars. Wait up until you're straight for full throttle. Lift at the traffic light, perhaps just a little bit before. Remember, you don't want to overdrive this at all. Car feels alright still. No hint of loose yet. That's a little bit of brake just to help your turn in. Perhaps what I'm doing, now I know I just said a few minutes ago that trying to keep load on the right front may not help, but I feel like that's just kind of what I'm instinctively doing right now, rather than really waiting for the car to rotate. Lift just a couple car lengths before that traffic light, let the car turn down, back on throttle, just to hold your center speed. You're going to want to feather the throttle quite a bit on exit, just kind of depending on feel. Yep, loose there. I felt that kicking out a little bit. And I really felt like I was trying to keep some load on the right front through that turn. Try a different approach, just lift. That's not the way to do it either. So what I was trying to do there was keep a little bit of throttle in it to keep some load on the right rear rather than letting it transfer all to the right front, and then it just really lets that rear step out. And as you can see, that wasn't the way to do it. I really think, just off of how this feels right now, the best way to do this is to lift, turn in, wait up until you feel the front's really starting to bite and set up your exit. You're going to want to get on the throttle just a little bit, maintain your center speed, and then just slowly increase as you're approaching exit, but waiting until you're damn near straight on the wheel to get back to full throttle. You may sacrifice a little bit of time compared to cars around you, but keeping your rears happy is such a premium. But then again, to put that tire saving at the forefront, I just don't think is beneficial because you're giving up so much time. You can see we're still running 43 runs, and I believe we're approaching lap 10. Just a little bit of throttle, getting loose there. Now, fuel-wise, each gallon I think is going to get you roughly 2.2 laps. We're at 17.5 gallons remaining. We'll say 39 laps is just a nice number. 17 times 2, 34. So that, I think that does come out to about 2.2 laps, 2.2 laps and a quarter at most. So with that in mind, I think bare minimum to get you to the end is probably going to be 9 gallons. With some yellows, you could probably lessen that a little bit to 8, but I just don't like to depend on yellows, as I feel like a good way to approach 87s for most tracks, road courses, out the door rather, short tracks typically the same thing as well, because you can finish those out on one fuel tank. But where on tracks where you do need to stop for fuel, you pretty well want to minimize time on pit road, so why throw in the extra stop that you don't need? Now, if a yellow comes out, you got a tire set still on the wall to go, then go ahead, come on down and use it. 9 gallons minimum ought to get you there, 10 probably being the safe for sure number. Brake, get your turn down. Once you feel the bike, get back on throttle a little bit, but not too much, as you really don't want to let your rear tires kick out. I would like to point it out with the mouse, but turn 3 being so difficult for me. Next time around, look at the seams on the track where they kind of suddenly jut left. That's my lift off, turn in point, brake point if need be for turn 3. Could probably push it a little bit later, but I'm so prone to overdriving turn 3 almost regardless of whatever oval car that I do set myself a little bit more of a conservative lift, brake, turn in marker, etc. See right there, sudden jut left, lift there and brake. See a little bit loose there, I had to get off the throttle. I think for turn 1 and 2, you haven't seen me do this much because the way I take turn 1 and 2 is very, very much ingrained into my mind. But middle high entry, don't wall ride, as I don't feel like there's any grip next to that. Same with 3 and 4 is stutters have been terrible lately. Is a middle high entry and then a cut down at your center for a little bit of a straighter exit, not so much turning when you're trying to get back on throttle as much as possible, and really preventing those back tires from kicking out on you. You can see a little bit of a cut down, small bit of throttle, and smooth. No indication of loose off the turn at all. Want to wait until you're straightening out the wheel to get back to full throttle. So you want minimal fuel as well, back to the fuel talk, because more fuel is just making this car looser. I can't really give you a one-size-fits-all pit strategy because I've been in races where you've got to wreck every 5 to 10 laps, if even right after 5 laps. Because what good is a strategy if you've got to wreck at lap 15, I come in, get the 4 tires, fuel, and then there's a wreck 5 laps later. Okay, that would have been a better time at lap 20. Or say after the pace laps, you're now at probably lap 22, 23 at the time of that second wreck. Well, now, okay, I would have much preferred to have that first new set of tires at the lap 23 wreck, lap 24 when we're coming to pit probably. And then you got a wreck maybe a few laps after that, it's now lap 32. Well, heck, probably would have been better in the best conditions possible. It's you want to wait until nearly halfway, to take your first set of new tires, but you're not going to have that every race. So I would say in the case of wrecks, try to wait till lap 20. Okay, well, you stayed out, but then no wreck happened after that. Well, now you got to come down during green, get your new tires, get your fuel, and those who pit at the lap 15 wreck, I don't think they would have to pit, because lap 15 is kind of, I think, the earliest lap to pit. and still be able to make it. Because that's 50 laps then, I think it's fairly easy to stretch your fuel from 48 to 50 laps. So as far as how cautions fall, it really throws wrenches in what should be the pit strategy. Now, if you're green, if your race is full green, just wait until lap 45, if even up to lap 48, 49. Take the bare minimal fuel you need, which will probably be 9 gallons, if even 8 gallons at that point, get your 2 tires, and you're good to go. I would go over the right side tires, but just for the sake of time, I won't in this guide. But just know that right side tires feel very nice in this car. With, of course, as minimal fuel you need. You can see I've fallen off the pace a lot just talking. So let me get some pace back in this car. There. I think just simply the one baseline rule is get the minimal fuel you need to make it to the end of the race, but don't add any more fuel. With that being said, you don't want to be on a full tank of fuel with old tires because it will make the car just wrecking loose. I had this experience with Auto Club, I believe week 2 of 24 season 4. I took fuel and then just to save a set of tires, didn't take any tires. And 10 laps into that next following run, if even 5 laps, the car was just wrecking loose. I was holding on for dear life, and I wound up being bailed out by a yellow. But I was losing ground, just simply trying to not let the car kill me. So that being said, if you do top off the tank, you might as well take the tires, because then you're in for a hell of a time, unless you just happen to save your tires so well up to lap 15. But to do that, you have to give up so much time. For that turn down, feather your throttle, be careful. Now, I really wanted to say lap fall off will stop at 43.3, but I think the fall off is just going to be continuous almost up until your green flag stop. Hopefully it may stop now. It seems that we're kind of leveling off somewhere in the 43.6. With a pack and draft being a factor, that might be more like 43, low 43.5s, maybe high 43.4s, dependent on track temp. Now, also, we don't know the track temp right now. It was 76 last we checked, and that was, what, 25 laps ago now? '22, 23 actually. So track temp right now, sun has also peaked out. Track temp right now is probably more like 78, 79. So be ready for dramatic track temperature swings. I don't know if you get full cloud cover for a few laps, you'll see the track temp fall down to say 72, 73. I haven't seen it cool back down in the few test sessions that I've started. So you may, I just haven't seen it for myself yet. Got a few more laps to go in this practice run. You can see I'm fighting a little bit loose in some cases. And it seems like now we're at 43.8. As to drive it any faster than this, you're just really, it just really feels like the car is loose to drive it that hard. It's still too loose. So we're gonna keep running this out. I'm gonna put together, because tire wear as you're seeing right now is so massive at Old Michigan that it's worthwhile to save a tire set in the case you get a yellow with like 8 laps to go, and by the time you're going back green it should be 4 to go, something like that. Even if it's just a 2-lap run to the finish, those new tires are so valuable versus old tires that have been on the track for even just 10 green flag laps. So it's worthwhile, just know it's a gamble, and that's where I say it's again worthwhile to try to hold your first new set of tires until lap 30. While there's cautions falling here and there at lap 10, lap 15, lap 20. You can see when I'm hitting my markers correctly, we're in 43.6 range, so it seems like with not so much tire life being the forefront, being faster, but with tire life in mind. I hope that makes sense. Brake, let the car rotate. A little bit of throttle just to hold our corner. We're pushing up a little bit, so I was on the throttle too early. A little loose there. You've gotta just kind of anticipate it. 43.62. I really feel like middle high entry and then cut on down is your best bet to go, as sticking low line throughout the whole turn in both ends of the track is, I might be wrong on this is just how it feels to me, is really encouraging the car to get loose. You can see we're at 9 gallons to go. That gives us roughly 20 laps to go on fuel, so that's roughly about 2.2 laps per gallon, I want to say. Little loose there, and you see it's just, you're really driving your center to exit like you've got 2 eggs under your throttle pedal. Very likely our 30th lap there. We'll tack on 5 more. Actually, no, let's just come on in right now. This has already been a very long guide. So we're gonna do 4 tires, but no fuel, as I really want to illustrate how much better the car feels with as minimal fuel as possible in the car. And then just again to illustrate how valuable new tires are at the end of the race, while say you've got 10 cars in front of you that are on even just 10 lap old tires, because by that time you're probably turning 43 ones at best, maybe more like 20, gosh, excuse me, I can't math. After some tire cooling, maybe more like 42.8s, but on new tires, you can easily turn a 42.1. Now for green flag pit stop, if your race allows that, once you see that Sunoco sign within your windshield, that is pretty well a very good marker, and I feel that's about the latest point you can brake without any risk of letting the car snap loose on you and whatnot. We're at 56.4% brake bias. Car felt pretty good there.
5, 3,
Let me double check
2,
my fuel, okay?
1. Right here.
I'm very good at pitting. Here we go. 8270. And if you guys can do better than that, then absolutely great job. I've not been able to put right rear tire saving at the forefront without sacrificing far too much time.
All clear. Punch it.
So take note, the last lap we ran on that set of tires was clocked at a 43.62. We're just gonna go on out here and act as if it's a restart with 3-4 laps to go. Don't just go on and guns blazing really give it your all, because you can certainly cook your tires within just 3 laps if you really push it that hard. I did that once a few seasons ago, wound up third. If I had just been a little bit more, just held it back a little bit, very sure I could have won that race. And you see just how much harder I can really drive the car. Okay, that's a little bit too much. See, be careful of that. Certainly, we're in fact going to go back to our default brake bias, 53.2. Kind of wait until you get that turn down. I think I got on it a little bit too early. And look at that, 42.2. Let the car turn down. And you see, even on lap 2 of this run, we're probably going to clock it faster just because we ran that turn properly. Whereas, say, anybody on this point on old tires, even just 10 laps, at best with some tire cooling, they can probably turn 42.8. I might be wrong on that, but I feel like that's a good ballpark number. You see 42.1, and that's on the second lap. So a little bit higher on the entry. That's slightly too high. There's no grip, less grip. And you see just, I'm full throttle from center corner, and it's not breaking loose on me at all. This car feels perfect when you've got less than half a full fuel tank. But to get to that point of minimal fuel in your fuel tank, it's tough. And you see that lap 3 is kind of where that fall off really starts to kick in, 42.43. And we'll go ahead and end it there. And I believe that was just 3 laps of running it hard. Let's see what the tire life is after just 3 laps. Let's see. Just 3 laps, 42.2, 42.1, 42.4, and that's 98.98. And you see we've got that even tire wear now. And that's because the fuel tank is only a third of the way full, even nearly quarter of the way. So this really shows you want as minimal fuel as possible. Try to keep that second set of new tires on the wall for, in the case, late yellow, within 6 to go. 5 to go is kind of borderline. You're only going to get 1 lap shootout. And even with just 1 lap shootout, those new tires could still be beneficial to you. But it's much better with 2 laps or more to go. But of course, make sure to not run it too hard so you run the hell out of the tires and they can't give you anymore. So, but biggest points, keep your rears happy, especially your right rear tire. what was the split? 82-70 on the first set. So I to really to really have even tire wear from the start, you've got to give up far too much time. I just don't think it's worthwhile. If you could figure it out while only giving up a tenth per lap, then please let me know. I could not figure it out. I have to admit that right now to you guys. But with less fuel, it's much, much easier. So just keep it steady in the run. Hang out at the end of the lead pack if you want. Find your spot where you're comfy, but I really don't. I really advise against just being at the front of the fight, being in the dogfight. You're running harder than you want to. You're forced to take lines you don't really want to take. It's better to hang out at the back of the lead pack. You're not under any immediate pressure. You can take the line you want, a little more time to react to any wrecks that happen, and just kind of keep yourself comfy. Because those running at the front trying to stay in the leads, stay top three, they've got to run it hard. They've got to cook the right rear. And if it goes green for 20 or more laps, that's where it really starts to show for those that have really worn out the right side tires. Less fuel on four tires, this car feels awesome. Even on just two tires with half a fuel tank, the car feels awesome. But I think at that point, four tires is better. Granted, this is after a yellow, so if your race goes green up until your green flag pit stops, still take your right side tires. I don't think four tires still are beneficial enough to overcome that 7 seconds you take to get on your to get your left side tires on as well. But nonetheless, right side tires still feels very good on this car. It's not wrecking loose. It feels better than certainly old tires that have been worked to hell with a full fuel tank. So keep those in mind. Be steady on your throttle on exit. Wait until you're almost straight to be above 80% throttle or so. Um, of course, as always, don't overdrive. And I wish I could give you guys a one size fits all strategy as far as yellows fall, but that can be a little bit of a lottery. Um, if you get a wreck at lap 15, it's probably best to just take the tires and full fuel, because with the full fuel you can make it to the end of the race at that point. Likely, you may only need just to save for 3-4 laps of just simply lifting earlier, stick in the draft. You can save some fuel that way, and then even then, if you get one more yellow at that point, that's probably your fuel saving right there. You're good to go. But the only thing I say for sure do not do whatsoever is definitely don't take full fuel on old tires. You're going to be in for a very wild ride if you do that. But then again, guys, I really hope this is helpful. This has turned out to be a very long guide. I was trying to find the answers, and the answer to save your right rear from the start is to be far too slow. You give up far too much time, I think. But of course, I hope this is helpful to you guys. Good luck this coming week. I don't know what's coming up as far as uploads. You may see an upload for an 87s race, but I've got day 24 coming up with the JKR group. I'm going to put plenty of my time in getting ready for that. So I do have a backlog of a race that I may upload from Bristol. You guys may see that. But much of this week coming up is going to be Daytona 24 prep. But take care, guys. Good luck in the coming week, and I will see you in the next video.